It was the year 1854, and amidst the thunder of cannons and the cries of men, a single command would lead to one of history's most notorious charges. Have you ever wondered how a simple miscommunication could alter the course of a battle, shaping the destiny of around 100 gallant soldiers? Today, we're turning back the clock to unravel the gripping story of the Charge of the Light Brigade. This is no ordinary tale. It's one that's teeming with courage, tragedy, and sheer determination, immortalized by the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson in his iconic lines, "Into the valley of death rode the 600. With every beat of their steeds' hooves and every clash of their sabers, these soldiers carved their names into the annals of bravery." But there's more to this story than meets the eye. Join us as we peel back the layers, uncovering the courage of these 600 soldiers, the fatal misunderstandings that sealed their fate, and the profound legacy of their sacrifice. This journey promises to captivate your imagination and ignite your spirit. So without further ado, let's dive into the fray and uncover the truth behind the Charge of the Light Brigade. Picture the mid-19th century, a time of tumultuous geopolitics and imperial ambitions. The stage was set for a clash of titans in the Black Sea region as the British Empire, along with its allies France and the Ottoman Empire, squared off against the ever-expanding Russian Empire. Why all the fuss? Well, it boiled down to one thing: control. The Crimean Peninsula, with its bustling port city of Sevastopol, was like the golden goose of naval bases. Whoever held the reins there had a hefty advantage in dominating the Black Sea and flexing their muscles across the region. And let's not forget about the poor old Ottoman Empire. Once a powerhouse, it was now feeling the squeeze of Russian encroachment on its turf. The fear of losing more territory to the bearish neighbor only added more fuel to the fire, ramping up tensions to a boiling point. It was a perfect storm of ambition, rivalry, and strategic importance. And in the midst of it all, the stage was set for one of history's most daring maneuvers, the Charge of the Light Brigade. Amidst this geopolitical tinderbox, approximately 670 soldiers stood ready for battle, their fates hanging in the balance. These brave souls were members of the Light Brigade, the British cavalry force renowned for their agility and daring maneuvers. Led by the enigmatic Major General James Brudenell, 7th Earl of Cardigan, this cavalry crew had a reputation for being tough as nails and sticking to their guns no matter what. The soldiers of the Light Brigade were quite the mix, coming from all corners of the British Isles and beyond. You had individuals from the 4th and 13th Light Dragoons, the 17th Lancers, and the 8th and 11th Hussars. Among them were seasoned soldiers with years of military know-how and fresh-faced recruits itching to make their mark in battle. And despite their diverse backgrounds, they were bound together by a strong sense of duty and brotherhood, ready to tackle whatever came their way. Clad in their distinctive uniforms, these cavalry riders charged into battle on swift, unarmored horses. With lances and sabers in hand, they were all about speed and agility, perfect for scouting and quick skirmishes. Their job was simple: dive headfirst into the fight, facing the enemy with guts and grit. While history may not record the names of each individual soldier, their collective bravery and sacrifice would leave an indelible mark on the annals of military history. Now, let's fast forward to that fateful day in October 1854. The Battle of Balaclava was about to kick off, and you could practically feel the tension crackling in the air. It was like a scene straight out of a movie. Horses neighing, cannons roaring, and the eerie mist of the Crimean landscape swirling around. Leading the Russian troops is Pavel Laprandi, a tough opponent with approximately 20 battalions of infantry and over 50 artillery pieces deployed on both sides. Against this backdrop, the Light Brigade thunders forward down a funnel-like narrow valley with Lord Cardigan leading the charge. Sabers flash, hooves pound, and these heroes dive straight into the thick of it, right into the enemy's turf. But here's where things go off the rails. In the middle of all this chaos, somebody drops the ball on communication. Orders get mixed up, signals get crossed, and before you know it, the Light Brigade is off on a wild goose chase, heading straight for the wrong target. But what caused all this confusion in the first place? Well, picture the commanders back at headquarters, trying to shout orders over the roar of battle. Meanwhile, the soldiers on the front lines can barely hear themselves think over the noise and commotion. Add to that the fact that they're working with old-school communication methods, like flags and bugle calls. You've got a recipe for disaster. The Light Brigade faced withering fire from three sides, which devastated their force on the ride. But somehow they managed to muster the courage to engage the Russian forces at the end of the valley and even push them back from the redoubt. Despite their bravery, they suffered heavy casualties and were soon forced to retreat. Now, here's where things get a bit messy. Lucan, also known as Lieutenant General George Bingham, 3rd Earl of Lucan, was the bigwig in charge of the cavalry. But when the Light Brigade needed support, Lucan and his troops of the Heavy Brigade failed to provide any. They entered the mouth of the valley but didn't advance further. Lucan's excuse? He didn't see the point in sending in another brigade to get mowed down. Instead, he figured he'd be better off helping out any survivors who made it back from the charge. Meanwhile, the French light cavalry, the Chasseurs d'Afrique, stepped up to the plate. Led by General d'Alenville, they cleared the Fedyukin heights of Russian artillery, making sure the Light Brigade wouldn't get shot at from that flank. They even provided cover for the remaining elements of the Light Brigade as they beat a hasty retreat. War correspondent William Howard Russell summed it up pretty well when he said, "Our Light Brigade was annihilated by their own rashness and by the brutality of a ferocious enemy." After the chaotic charge, the battlefield looked like something out of a nightmare, scattered with the wreckage of war and the fallen bodies of brave soldiers. The toll of the conflict was heavy. Out of approximately 670 soldiers who participated in the charge, around 118 were killed, with many more wounded and 60 captured by the enemy. Sergeant Major Bentley, a seasoned veteran of the Crimea campaign, offered insights into the aftermath of the charge. He painted a pretty grim picture, talking about the tough job of patching up the wounded and comforting the dying right there on the battlefield. The French Marshal Pierre Bousquet summed up the charge with a mix of awe and disbelief, saying, "It's magnificent, but it's not war." And then he added, "It's madness." The Russian commanders, meanwhile, were baffled, thinking the British soldiers must have been out of their minds or drunk to attempt such a reckless feat. But amidst the devastation, a sense of pride and reverence emerged for those who had given everything in the name of duty and honor. In the years that followed, their story was immortalized in Alfred, Lord Tennyson's iconic poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade. This literary masterpiece captured the essence of their courage and sacrifice, ensuring that their memory would endure for centuries to come. News of the charge spread like wildfire, capturing the imagination of people around the globe. Their tales of gallantry echoed across continents, immortalizing their sacrifice in the hearts of those who heard them. Memorials were erected to honor the fallen, ensuring that their names would never be forgotten. Today, the legacy of the Light Brigade lives on, a testament to the power of bravery and the unwavering spirit of those who answer the call of duty. Their charge may have been born out of confusion, but their courage and sacrifice will forever be etched in the annals of history as one of the most daring feats ever witnessed on the battlefield. Now, let's tackle the burning question. Could the tragedy have been avoided? Well, historians and military buffs have been duking it out over this one for ages. Some say it was just a plain old blunder, while others reckon it was a gutsy move in a tight spot. Looking back, there are definitely a few things that could have been done differently to steer clear of disaster. One significant issue was the major breakdown in communication that led to all the confusion about the orders given to the brigade. If there had been clearer lines of communication and better coordination between the high-ranking officials on the battlefield, maybe the Light Brigade wouldn't have ended up charging into the wrong target. And let's talk recon. Better scouting and intelligence gathering could have given the British commanders a leg up. With a better read on the Russian defenses and the lay of the land, they might have cooked up a smarter plan of attack, one that didn't put their troops in harm's way quite so much. And let's not forget about tactics. A good old-fashioned cavalry charge might have been the traditional move, but maybe it was time to shake things up a bit. Modern, more effective military tactics could have given the British troops a better shot at coming out on top without taking such heavy losses. Some argue that if the Heavy Brigade had joined the Light Brigade in the valley, the outcome might have been different and the charge could have even succeeded. So when you look at it all, the charge of the Light Brigade is not just a tragic tale of heroism, it's also a lesson. And if history has taught us anything, it's that learning from our mistakes is the best way to keep from repeating them. And that's exactly what happened. This event had a significant impact on military tactics and strategies, particularly in the British Army.